What is up, guys? Technicals Tinkers here, checking in on our little 3D print operation for today. I own a business that has nothing to do with 3D printing, but I got interested in the process, so I'm trying to learn about 3D printers here at home, print some things, sell them on the internet. I'm documenting the process every day for the past few months. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to join along in the fun. Maybe you can learn something, teach me something, win something. What have I got going on today? Well, if you've been following the channel, we've got a bunch of different potpourri of things going on. Try to keep it that way, keep it fresh, keep it interesting. So let's see what's on the plates. All right, so up here on Cobra number 2, our 1mm Cobra. It is the somewhat final-ish version of our Hideaway thing. So we shot the video yesterday of the installation and we made some adjustments in Fusion on this model here. We did some fillets on the corners. Now, I didn't even think about it, but running a 1mm nozzle at a 0.7 layer height, fillets that are 1mm are probably not going to really show up that much. So yeah, it's kind of, there's no room for detail on something like that, but it did have some of an effect. It's not a sharp corner. I didn't fillet the bottom at all because I was concerned about it lifting. So no fillets there. Did some mouse ears, some 8mm mouse ears on the corners. No lifting issues whatsoever. Seems solid, seems sturdy. So that's, I mean, I think that's kind of, I guess, the final, what it's going to be. It takes a lot of filament, though, 900 grams all in, but it's very solid, and it kind of needs to be. I didn't do this in PETG. This is just PLA, but I think this is probably going to hold up. So we're going to do a final fit and make sure that that is good to go. Over here on the A1, I was looking, if you saw yesterday, let me get back to my face here. So if you saw yesterday, I did the skull, the saber-toothed cat skull. I got that listed on Etsy. I cleaned up the model. I used a heat gun and did it kind of aggressively in some of the sharper corners or the hard areas where the supports were contacting. I just kind of held a heat gun there, put a bunch of gloves on my hand and kind of smooshed it down a little bit, kind of some manual smoothing. It didn't take very long, you know, less than 5 minutes to just kind of once over it, smooth it out. I was already heat gunning it to get rid of the stringiness, and I think it improved it a lot. Now that's a very thick layer height on that, so you know, there's only so much smoothing I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna run adaptive layer height or anything like that on there because it's a big model. But I thought, you know, how do I set myself apart, differentiate? And so I kind of thought, well, maybe if I go for like a museum-y type vibe, this is just a concept. It's just a little placard that has the scientific name for the saber-toothed cat, Smilodon populator. That was my nickname in high school. Obviously, it's a little big. I just did paint by layer. I actually meant to run gold and not the blue, but I specified the wrong one. Surface finish came out nice, but it's kind of the wrong size. It needs to be a little bigger. I'm not crazy about this text either. This is kind of like a off-the-shelf text in Tinkercad. So what I might do is go and get like a more cursive-y handwriting sort of thing, convert it to SVG, move it in there, and resize this a little bit, make some little like brackets that kind of hold it like so, and then that way when someone orders it, or when I take the picture for the listing, I can just set it there, and it's like, you know, if people want to display it, it's got a little placard there saying, you know, like what that is, kind of like it's in a museum sort of thing. Might be a little better of a vibe. Let me know what you think in the comments. Additionally, since we're skull crazy, I went looking around the world for skull models, and I found the next skull, and that is a chimpanzee skull. Now this one failed, but it's okay. It's not a big deal. We don't cry over spilt filament on this channel because filament's cheap. This is a chimpanzee skull, and the only failure point, the model's looking fantastic. Now this is a paid model. I had to buy this one because, you know, I'm looking around for models that, let me pull this off. I'm looking around for models that, like, you know, give me complete and total like good to go-ness on the attribution or being able to sell it. Like, I don't want any questions or concerns or have to answer emails. So I did buy this. It was $15. So I'm thinking, like, you know, after the first one sold, that pretty much covers most of everything. It came out very nice here, except for this one little point on his canine there, his tooth. It didn't contact that support and it failed. But looking over the rest of the model, it looks very nice. You know, a lot of the areas with overhang where supports were contacted, very nice. Now I did this one not in Elegoo Rapid PLA Plus beige. This is Bamboo Matte PLA desert tan. And I think this one looks a little more bony than the bone. And this is the beige over here. So you can see shinier, much more matte, and it's kind of like more fitting of the bone profile. And you can really see kind of like some of the cranial divots and whatnot. As far, I think I remember, this is an actual scan of a chimp skull. Now I'm not sure if this is actual size. I think they're a little bit bigger, but it's kind of as big as I could get it on the bamboo plate. My aim for this is to print it on the Cobras, but I like to do it on the bamboo first to kind of test it and see where the problem areas might be. And then eventually maybe a very large one on the GIGA. Put this in our basket to go to Grandma's house and look at later. What else we've got? Oh yeah. All right, I got some porn from my haters because you guys love it when a print fails and love to pretend that I'm crying about it. I'm not. There's no tears here. No crying over spilt milk. No crying over spilt filament. So the Charmander model did fail. And it kind of failed at the area where I thought I would have some problems. So here on the test model, on this tail, this really steep overhang here, you can kind of see where it was like kind of suspect. Now I run like a 20% threshold on this one. So I was like, okay, it's to be expected. So I ran a 25% threshold on the big version, but indeed it did fail on the tail. It failed on the tail. Let's move the gantry up so I don't bonk myself here. So I was watching this and monitoring it up until I went to sleep, and then when I woke up, I saw like, okay, this is not gonna work out. So in total, probably burned probably at least 1 kilo of filament. So not too bad, at least too bad to learn the lesson. So there's a few things I don't wanna take away from this. So let's so here you can see the tail completely had separated from the organic tree supports. And I think that's from cooling. You know, as it prints the overhang, it starts to curl up and furl up to, you know, meet the rest of the model and pull away from the supports. And so maybe there's a concern with top Z distance there too, but overall, let's see if I can get deeper in here. I'm laying inside the GIGA now. Yeah, it's just, I can't see if I can see from the other side as well. Did it do it over here too? Oh yeah. So furling up on the tail, and I think, so what I've done is I'm gonna run it slower, and I set it to run even slower on the different overhang thresholds. So it's already running slow, but it's gonna run extra slow. The fan is at 100% the whole time. This, I don't think has any real bearing. The enclosure has any real bearing on temperature too much because it's not closed in on this side or the back. There's gaps. It's not like it's a real hot chamber in here. With a fan running 100%, I think that should be sufficient. Additionally, now I've been running a 0.7 layer height just to try to speed things along. But I'm thinking I'm gonna run it at 0.5 because that Moai head I did at 0.5 came out pretty good. And I think if I run a 0.5, it will kind of help address some of this terracing, this stepping on some of the flatter parts. Additionally here, you kind of see on the supports, like maybe running a finer layer height would give me a more consistent finish. But really the concern is the tail. So let's see if we can just pop her off and see if we can identify here a little closer. So yeah, definitely separated, furling up, and then, you know, just kind of it printing out in space. I probably could have ran with this and then just done that smoothing trick, but my worry was if when I went to match up that belly section, that base section of his belly, that because the tail had like curled up, that the belly section wouldn't like really fit, and I'd have to be like really squeezing it together, and then it might pop off and, you know, shoot off with force, and then, you know, you sell it to some kid and it shoots off and hits them and they fall out a window and they die. And then I go to court and blah, you know, so on and so forth. And then I'm back in prison again. So I want to avoid that. But, you know, learning experience here. I'm glad that I caught it sort of early. Unfortunately, it seems like I do have to run with tree supports on that. I did a test slice with normal supports, doubled the amount of filament to run normals on that. So definitely going to be running tree organics. Still overall, we're looking at like 4 kilos, just short of 4 kilos to do that. So I only have, what, 4 kilos left on there, but I do have some of those 1 kilogram spools. So what I'm gonna do with my revised settings is I'm gonna go ahead and send it to print. I'm gonna put in a 1 kilogram spool of the orange. That way, if it does start to fail and I don't see it or whatever, it'll only get to that 1 kilo and then it'll stop. And if there's any kind of, you know, problem in between the filament switch, it won't burn through 4 and then I have to put on 1 and then the problem occurs way up the model a day and a half from now, if that makes sense. You know, I kind of wish they made spools of filament that were 10 kilos at this point. I mean, for the Orangestorm GIGA, I think you kind of need it. Like Elegoo, just saying, you know, like it very like forward thinking to offer 5 kilogram spools. But this thing, it needs like 10 kilogram spools for real. I think that'd be a brilliant idea. Just sell it for what, $120, whatever. You'll still make your money, and hopefully people will get prints. Maybe they want it to fail. I just outed them. I just figured it out. Elegoo wants prints to fail, so you have to buy more filament. Where's my tinfoil hat? I'm gonna 3D print a tinfoil hat later. All right, so let's get our basket of goodies and go into the office. Okie dokie, so like I was saying yesterday, it's up there, the Smilodon, the saber-toothed cat. Got that listed up on Galleria 3D yesterday. I put it in at $150. Again, shooting high, I think that's, you know, eventually prices come down on things unless they move. Just to, like, you know, kind of sort of a swing for the fences kind of thing. And that sort of fits my, my motif of, you know, not worth it sort ofness for, you know, to print smaller things. Like we saw the B-roll, or here, let's roll the B-roll now. So I do get orders. They're just kind of few and far between, and mostly they're crypto miner stuff. But like that one I shipped this morning was a combo pack, the KSO stand and you know, Ice River RX0, AL0, KS0, whatever, shroud, fan shroud. So those two products together sell for like all in $24. It costs like $7 to ship. And the total print cost, it's like PETG and PLA. I think it's probably like $3 or something like that. So it's an okay rip. Like that, I wouldn't mind selling every day. You know, the boxes are pretty cheap. The box is like $1. The packing material, you know, things like that. All said, I don't know what, like $10, $8, $10 a rip for every one of those I sell. You know, I sell a 2-pack of the KSO shrouds, which is basically the same. So I wouldn't mind that, but those products are take it off the plate, put it in a box and ship it, and there's virtually no chance of like failure for those. They're very, very simple models. Don't have steep overhangs. They require no supports. They're not something like this. You know, because this takes a lot of fine tuning and whatnot. And even if this gets dialed in, I feel like there is still an opportunity for failure just because of the amount of movements, the amount of, like, you know, backs and forths and supports, you know, and like, you know, if one part of the plate is a little less sticky than the other part of the plate, and that part of the plate has a support tree base on it, and it fails, and then it starts getting dragged around the plate, and then everything else fails. And I have not encountered that with any of those like more, you know, functional prints, like the crypto miner stuff. So I wouldn't mind doing those all day. But as it pertains to the saber-toothed cat, it doesn't require a lot of post-production, but, you know, like the failure rate, you know, I'm kind of a little bit leery about. So I'm pricing that in. It's a premier product because it's large, and I'm gonna, you know, list it as such. And I want to take some better pictures. I was kind of scoping around my house looking for a spot to take better pictures and, like, you know, find a table and get a nice plant and do some better lighting and make it look like it's a rich person's house when I take the picture. And then so when people see the listing, they're like, oh, that's what rich people get. I want that. That's the thinking anyway, because the pictures I have up now are like my half-assed attempt at that. But I'm real bad at taking, like conceptualizing pictures like that, and I don't understand lighting. Lighting's always been real tough for me. So I kind of aim to do that with the skulls. I'll probably go back through and do that with the T-Rex skulls. Certainly do it with the chimp skull. I gotta tell you, I'm looking at this thing and I am in love with this bamboo matte. This is not an ad. I'm getting zero commission from bamboo. I'm in love with this matte PLA, this desert tan for bone, because it looks really bony. Tell me, vote now on your phones. Does this look more bone than bone? Is this more human than human? Because I think so. I'm also noticing too like a little shifty here. Shifty through the jaw, but not through the back section of the skull. Very strange. I also saw a model of a gorilla skull, which is a little bit different than this. Like gorillas don't have like a cap on the top of their skull. It's just like a ridge. I don't know if they don't have bone on the top of their head, or if it's cartilage, or if it just usually goes missing, or what. It's a very sort of strange look to it. But chimp skull looking pretty good. I want to try this again. I'm gonna take another stab at it, just kind of beef up the support here on his canine. But for now, we're gonna send this straight to the Sargasso Sea. Boom. Feed those hungry eels. Sorry, the eels eat car batteries. Throw your car batteries into the ocean to feed the electric eels. Plastic feeds everything else. Also, I'm gonna keep mentioning it until I actually get it to work, but the algo laser, I did get well, I'm gonna call it a success. Look at that, huh? It's the first 4 lines of my name. That's right. So the algo laser, I was trying to dial it in a little bit and get it to work. But there's like different softwares, and like my MacBook is from 2016. It's an older MacBook, but I keep it because it's got a big screen on it, and I don't want to shell out $3 grand for another MacBook Pro. Mine works fine. But the software, like, you know, if you use Macs, you know, current software, eventually Macs are like, we can't run this anymore, and we're not even going to try. And so I was trying to use an older version of Lightburn, and I'm like, I'm not about to buy an old version of Lightburn. So I was using my phone to try to dial it in, test it in. You know, maybe it comes down to me having to use my PC to operate this thing, or if I can see if I can send jobs remotely to it. If that's the case, then it's basically another 3D printer. I also have another PC that sits right next to me running a 7900X, so I might as well, you know, maybe use that one. It's just a matter of like getting the print jobs to it. So aim to do that. Assembly was very easy, and setup it seems like all laser engravers, from what I've gathered, are a little bit sort of finicky to set, like to configure anyway. It's just kind of the name of the game. It seems very 3D printer-ish for, you know, brands that aren't like, you know, some of these ready to run out of the box type solutions. So very eager to do that and get that tested out, because I think the laser might be a great touch for those placards I was mentioning, like the Similodon Popularis. Instead of 3D printing that, I could just laser engrave that placard and then ship that along with those skulls to sort of, you know, again, as like a nice little upgrade sort of thing. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to engrave on plastic. I was kind of doing some more research on that. It doesn't seem like that's really a thing that's done, because it only melts it. And, you know, you melt the plastic, it's all gooey and stupid. The really only thing it does is sort of bleed blast the color or the pigment out of it. So looking for some other solutions there. It might be just come down to printing the placard, and then like you engrave on acrylic, and then just stick the acrylic on the plastic and make it very easy. Again, this whole time I'm thinking, how do I keep this easy, able to like stamp it out, throw it in a box and ship it, eliminate post-production as much as possible. And so hopefully today I can get my my hide thing finalized. I don't have the air register in here. I did get 2 air registers from Home Depot, cheaper ones, about half the cost. Same size, same dimensions, same spec as the one I bought retail from Lowe's. And so if that can be like a consistent source, then I might be able to like get that $50 rip that I was looking for on that product. So I want to smash those together, you know, put the little screw pack in there, create like the working concept, the pitch deck for the product, and then take pictures of that and put like a band around it, or, you know, some kind of print off. I don't have like a high quality color vinyl printer or anything that can make like, you know, retail grade packaging, and I don't know that I want to go that far, but I'm sure I could come up with something, maybe even just 3D printed, that I could put on there to make like a proper product. Even this tape together, I mean, to tape together with a sticker, I don't know. So let me know what your thoughts are on that in the comments below. But gonna be working on that today. Love to know what you're working on. Love to know what you think about all these things that I've got going on here. Be sure to like the video because it's the nice thing to do, and subscribe for more content like this. I'm the Technicals. See you next time.